Hey everybody, Dennis Wilborn. Thanks for joining us back for the next session of Avoiding These 6 Habits of Losing Traders. My objective is to clarify, simplify the trading process so traders can multiply profits and minimize risk. So let's get today's session right now. Okay, what's next? You have to ask yourself, you look yourself in the mirror, and you have to ask yourself, what? Am I up for the challenge and opportunity of me? Because that's what it comes back to. It's basically, it's that guy and gal you look at in the mirror every day. And so like that, so many things in life that are that way. It's what decisions you're going to make, how you're going to handle yourself moving forward. And it's especially true when you throw in the aspect of money and trading. Number 6. It's about probabilities. It is about probabilities. And I want to highlight what that means. Probabilities allow us to define our edge. And as I mentioned earlier in the session, it's not so much about knowing, okay, I don't have to know that I have a 55% probability of success if prices close above the 50-day moving average, that they're going to continue to go up. I don't need it down to that specific of a probability. All I need to know is that the probability have gone better than 50-50 once price actions close back up above the 50-day moving average, that the prices will continue to go up. That's all I need to know. And then that tells me, okay, then I want to place my trades in the direction of the higher probability. I know some of the engineers out there are statisticians. They'll basically, no, I want to know the exact probability of this happening. And a lot of times you just don't know. But all you got to do is, if you can define an area, and we look to the charts of where those areas are, and they, as we've talked earlier, they're in the areas where the buyers and the sellers show up. Example: define the probability at support. Well, if support holds, okay, then there's a better than 50-50 chance that the price actions will bounce and head back up into a uptrend. Does that make sense? Do I have to know the exact probability? No, but I know that if I wait for price actions to approach support, okay, approach support, and then I wait for the bounce on the intraday chart, I know I have a higher probability of that bounce going on into a longer term uptrend. Number 2 is I want to be aware of, I want to change my bias when the edge changes. Use a similar situation. If I'm looking at a level of support, here's my level of support. The price action come down and they stop and they bounce. But then they stop and they come down and break through that and close below it. Has my edge changed? Has my edge changed as soon as I get a close below that support line? And the answer, yep, absolutely. Yes, it has. Now my edge has changed more to, I do not want to be a buyer as much as I want to be one. If I don't want to trade to the short side, I want to say, hey, that's a good place to say, I want to tighten up my stops. I want to close things down. There you go. But that's how defining the edge is. So let's see. Probabilities, and thus your edge is constantly, I initially put in there changing, but adjusting, I think, would be a better term, is constantly adjusting. So look to your weekly, your daily, and your intraday charts, because let me ask you, because your short-term trends will potentially turn into longer-term trends, but at the same time, we could have on a weekly chart, we could have an upturn, an uptrend strong going, going very nicely. On a daily chart, that we could have a daily pullback, and so the shorter-term trend on that is a downtrend. And then on the intraday trend, once it hits support, it reverses. And so you could have three trends going on at the same time. Understand, where's your edge? The edge will tend to always favor the longer term time period. And so then that drives our patience to be able to say, okay, if my daily chart is in a downtrend, but my weekly chart is a really nice strong uptrend, then I may want to wait for a support bounce or a dynamic bounce off of the moving averages. Similar, if my daily chart is in a really nice uptrend also, and my weekly chart is in a downtrend, then I want to wait for a potential, where's my next level of support where I can get a bounce from, therefore improving my entry level and also enhancing my edge. And here's a perfect, this is basically the same chart that we used earlier. And as I walked everybody through it, is that I want you to notice a couple of things. One, prices came down into this past support area. We're going to draw it across here. As you can see, we had several levels of past support and bounced, grew on back up very nicely, and then hits the top of the range. Now, that top of the range we're unaware of, but that candlestick is the one that says, we're dropping back out the bottom. Therefore, that changes my anticipation of things falling back down until it hits the dynamic support of in this case, it's the 40-week moving average, which equates to the 200-day moving average, and then it stops dead in the water, proceeds to bounce up, does it again here. And so this zone, this support zone was always in play. And so there was a high probability that when price action moved into that zone, that's where we wanted to take profit. That's where we wanted to take profit or be ready to take profit. Now, did we have to close out the total position? No, especially once we got this move here back down to the bottom, up to the top, slightly higher high, pulled back down. So we could say, well, I'm going to take some on that bearish engulfing, I'm going to take some profit there. We get back down to the bottom. We can either restock right here, get back up into the zone. We can say, well, that's where I want it again. And it takes some profit off right there. And that's fine. But I hold on to a piece of it because guess what's happening is that trend as reversing dramatically to the upside on the longer term chart. So these bounces back against support is the area where that is a low risk entry to be moving on, and eventually it does break out to the upside and start heading on up. So that's one of the things we've really done a good job with this year is we've isolated in areas like we want to buy here or in this area here. We want to take profits, initial profits, as we move back up towards the first swing high. And as we can see here, it didn't quite make it up into that. And so we want to say, okay, somewhere in that zone, I'm not going to pick the absolute top. But what I'll do is, let's see if we can blow this up. See this candlestick right here? This one right here. I can use that body, that if I get up into that body, even if it's the lower part of that body, I'll go ahead and utilize that as here's where I'll take profit. Does that make sense? And then I hold on to the rest of it. So sure enough, we get a move back up, we take profit, get a move back down. I could actually refill right there. And I should be in my analysis saying, okay, I've got price action that has come down to the 8, or correction, to the 40 multiple times, twice already. It held. It is a strong probability that it will hold again. So again, that is a great place to, put out some traps for that next trade going up. And then from there, away we went. It went onto a really nice move to the upside. But that's what we've been working on. And so that's a perfect example. So the pink, high probability that it's going to reverse and go up down to the downside. The green, high probability that it's going to bounce and move to the upside. That's it. And I encourage it. I encourage you. Go ahead and highlight those areas on your charts. You don't have to make them that dark. Just make it really faint so you can see through them. But that way, when you switch across, here's what it does for you. Let me pop up the. There we go. Now I'll show you what this does for you. Is one, you've got this showing up on a weekly chart. You've got all that lined up. But then when I switch down and into the hourly chart, the intraday charts, go find one of those. Okay, this is a 30-minute chart. And as you can see, that pink level of resistance shows up as soon as I pop over to this level. I can also, let me go out this out to a, let's extend this to a 1 hour, 2 hour chart, just so you can see a little bit better. There we go. And as you can see, we got all the way up to the top of it, reversed down and fell. So again, if I have that on there that I've drawn on it from the longer time frames, when my intraday price action gets up into it, I may buy here at the lower section, but I'm going to be very cautious because by that time I see, hey, I've had a really nice little run here. That may not be the best place to buy because it's getting close to its ultimate level of resistance. That was highlighted from over there. Okay, that basically concludes this day for the days, guys. Any questions of me? The thing on is it's all part of the learning process, and part of what we've learned today is when we get tired, we will have a tendency to miss trades, or if we don't have our routine isn't really well defined, that's unfortunately part of the deal. The upside this, and this is positive self-talk, is that very pleased with the trades that we did make or did get into because they did very well. So we will never catch every trade, and so we want to be cautious about looking back. Be cautious about looking back, going, gosh darn it. Yep, that's it, Warren. And so don't get into beat up yourself mode because of past missed trades. Just make it a commitment going forward to say, I want to miss fewer trades. That's what I work on. So, okay, my friends, aloha, God bless. Stay safe out there, and be glad you don't live in Seattle. Aloha, everybody.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that session on our latest training. And if you want to get more information about active training, you'll find links down in the descriptions on this video. And please go back and review these. I put these out based on my 30 years experience in trading stocks and options. And so again, if you like it, give us a thumbs up. If you like the channel, subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.